if they found him not guilty, then no criminal will have to.
I'm not far behind. Let's see what I'm something like that.
everyone. I'm calling to order our regularly scheduled meeting for July 23rd, 2019. We will open with the Pledge of Allegiance given by Commissioner Brock and the invocation led by Commissioner Holberg.
We rise to join in the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen. Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner Tinsley to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 6-0. Okay. Under presentation of delegations, number 1, Griffin Fire Rescue recognition of Ronald Graham Jr. and Chris Stanley for their heroic actions during 2 recent fire events that resulted in the safety of others in the community. Chief Tommy Jones will address.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to bring you a good news story at the beginning of our meeting. We had 2 very brave citizens who contributed to recent calls, and this is very odd that we do this once every few years, but this time we had 2 events within 3 weeks of each other. So we would like to recognize them tonight for the brave things they did to save lives in our community. First of all, Ronald Graham Jr. Has Ronald made it yet? I don't think Ronald has made it, but we'll go ahead for the record and read his award, and we'll present to him if he doesn't make it. On the 15th of June, 2019 at 4:46 p.m. at 616 West Poplar Street, upon arrival, fire units discovered smoke showing from a multi-family residence and quickly extinguished the fire. Our investigation revealed that Ronald Graham Jr., an occupant of the building, smelled smoke and immediately began alerting his neighbors. He made entry into one apartment and assisted a mother and her handicapped daughter to safety. He then re-entered the structure and assisted another neighbor also to safety. For his actions, which truly saved the lives of up to 3 neighbors, Griffin Fire Rescue recognizes Ronald Graham Jr. for, and as it quotes on the plaque there, heroic and selfless acts that led to the safety of his neighbors during a fire on June 15, 2019. And again, we're grateful for Ronald, and we have a certificate and a plaque for him. At this time, I would like to call Mr. Chris Stanley up to the front. Less than 3 weeks later, on July 5, 2019, at 1:52 p.m., our department responded to another structure fire at 327 Hammond Drive. Chris Stanley, who was in the area working for the Atlanta Gas Light Company, noticed smoke coming from the structure and quickly made entry to assist one subject to safety. He then re-entered the structure to assist an elderly subject in a wheelchair escape the fire as well. Then, with a portable fire extinguisher, knocked down the fire, preventing further damage. And he is also being recognized with a plaque tonight that says, for his actions which surely saved the lives of at least 2 citizens, Griffin Fire Rescue recognizes Chris Stanley for his heroic and selfless acts that led to the safety of these neighbors during the fire on July 5th, 2019. Chris, we congratulate you, buddy, and thank you for your help.
These are the true heroes right here.
Commissioners, thank you for the time to recognize these brave citizens. Thank you so much.
Okay, number 2, recognize Robert Clark, Superintendent of Potato Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant, as June 2019 Strongest Link Award recipient. Brett Keller, Director of Public Works and Utilities, will address.
I don't know that I can top that, but at the end of the day, or the beginning of this evening, Robert is the strongest link for this month. He came to us as Assistant Superintendent at Shoal Creek. Last year, he stepped up to the plate after 4 interviews and said he'd take the job as a superintendent at Potato Creek. Robert has 4 daughters, or 4 children, and a wife. He finished his associate's degree this summer, and he's working on his BA. Some of his accomplishments at work is while we were all eating turkey, him and 2 other staff members spent 36 hours at Thanksgiving stopping Potato Creek from puking. And so during that period of time, when he could have been home, he was doing what he had to do. Robert's also pretty smart. He came to us with some pretty good knowledge, and we've had a couple challenges when our superintendent was vacant at Cabin Creek for a while, and he went over and troubleshot the plant. So this evening, on behalf of our department and the city of Griffin and yourself, Robert is our strongest link for this month and a very intelligent individual, and he's going to have a good career.
Thanks, sir.
And you have to look at him. Here, hold on, I'm sorry. There you go. Get to your cheeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, recognize City of Griffin Finance Department for receiving an award for Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the 15th consecutive year, and award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting for Popular Annual Financial Report for the 13th consecutive year. Chief Financial Officer Marcus will address.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I think I would like to submit a correction to that. It's not necessarily the staff, the finance staff. It's really the entire city who has gained the recognition here with these awards, because it's a result of all the operations, your stewardship, the latitude you've given us to implement financial policies and to assist and direct the recording of those financial activities. So y'all are the ones who really should be commended, and we're the support staff, so we do appreciate the accolades. And so, yes, congratulations on both awards.
Thank you. At this time, the chairperson opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for a public hearing, or to a concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. Is there anyone on my left that would like to come forward and address the board? Is there anyone on the right that would like to come forward and address the board? Okay. So now we'll move into public hearings. Number 4, receive comments regarding a request for a special use permit to allow for places of assembly located at 310 West Solomon Street as a multi-use activity center.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to abstain from discussion on this and voting. I represent the applicant and some insurance interests in commercial properties.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The applicant is at 312 West Solomon Street, better known as the Irish City Market, and they've actually participated in, I guess, 2 or 3 of our second Saturdays. So basically, they need a place of assembly to continue to have their concerts, or they've had some art shows and things of that nature. So this just kind of covers them in whatever endeavor they want to do at their location. And actually, Planning and Zoning did recommend approval back in June, and so also staff recommends approval.
Does the permit follow them vacating the building?
Right, so if they vacate the building, then it right,
Okay.
it goes away, yes.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience on the board that would like to address this item? Or have any comment? Any questions? Okay.
Thanks.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Graham is here. Could we go back and, since he has come and recognize him, ask the fire department to do a very quick recognition so we know who Mr. Graham is?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen said we need to close out the public hearing, but I don't think anybody else was speaking, so.
That's the end of the public hearing.
Commissioners, I'm pleased to introduce to you Mr. Ronald Graham Jr. Ronald, we put on record the text from the proclamation we're giving you. We're giving you this award for some very heroic actions that you've done. So we'd like to present you this commendation and this plaque, and we thank you so much for helping us out that day.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. We did offer him a job, too. It's just one.
Okay, next one. We'll move into our consent agenda. Is there anyone that...
Madam Chairman, I move that the consent agenda be approved as stated.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Tinsley and a second by Commissioner Brock to approve the consent agenda items 5 through 16. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Now we'll move into our regular agenda. Number 17, consider request for a special use permit to allow for places of assembly located at 310 West Solomon Street as a multi-use activity center.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner McCord and a second by Commissioner Flowers to approve. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0.
Nope. 6 and 1 abstention.
I'm sorry, 6-0-1. Okay, number 18, consider approval of an agreement between the City of Griffin and Allen Smith Consulting to perform grant administration services for the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant Award.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner McCord. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands.
I'm sorry.
7-0.
I think so.
Number 19, consider an addendum to the waste disposal agreement between the City of Griffin and Pine Ridge Landfill, adjusting the per ton gate rate by 75 cents per ton from the current rate of $22.97 per ton to $23.72 per ton, and increasing the tipping fee at the City of Griffin transfer station to reflect the increase from the current $35.93 per ton to $36.68 per ton.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holberg and a second by Commissioner McCord. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Number 20, consider revision of the Electric Department Electric Service Tariff, Distributed Generation Rider, and Distributed Generation. Buy all, sell all rider, as recommended by Electric Cities of Georgia.
Madam Chairman, Walter West from Electric Cities is here and would like to explain what this means, if you
Please
guys
do.
are open to that discussion.
I would like at least a brief explanation because I don't understand.
He will be brief.
5B. Be brief, brother. Be brief.
I'll be as brief as I can. Thank you for having me, Mayor and Council. So we talk about distributed generation rates. We are talking about customers that own distributed generation, own their own generators, and most likely what we're talking about is solar panels. So what we were proposing is some changes to that rate to best reflect what's happened since with solar power and solar panels since this rate was approved a few years ago. So the three changes we're recommending is with solar power, a customer can use electricity or produce electricity. So the meter would need to look both ways. So we're talking about removing the one-way meter and adding the two-way meter. And changing the charge for that from $2.50 per month to $4 per month, which is the industry standard. That's what Georgia Power is charging. And we're also recommending adding a percent capacity factor, which best reflects the operation of that solar panel and reduces the cost to the customer. Right now, that cost is high and it looks punitive, so it looks like it's discouraging solar, and this better captures that. And lastly, with these large customers, they need what we call a buy-all, sell-all, and that allows these customers to meet their corporate renewable sustainability goals and not penalize the city. So that's the recommendations we're making to this distributed generation rider. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
There was one correction. We gave you a new sheet, face sheet at your place, which is slightly different from what was on the agenda, and the only difference is under monthly capacity cost at the bottom. The capacity factor is outlined there specifically as 16% for residential and 20% for non-residential. When in the original one that you had, I don't think it was specific. It just mentioned the multiplier. But in the new sheet, we actually defined the 16 and 20%. And the bidirectional charge is $450 per month now rather than $250.
And that bidirectional charge, that's only for those who have solar or some means of producing power.
Correct. That would be customers that have solar power, yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Holbrook and a second by Commissioner Tinsler to approve item 20. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, number 21, consider approval to have Utilis Corporation provide satellite imagery of the city of Griffin in the amount of $37,500 for the Water and Wastewater Department.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Harburg and a second by Commissioner Flowers. All in favor? Oh, by Commissioner Murray. All in favor, let it be known by show of hands. 7-0. 22, consider resolution adopting policies for city-sponsored event in City Park. Jessica will address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think as most of you know, we have an event that is supposed to take place at City Park in September, the Dock Holiday Barbecue and Music Festival, and they have been around for a couple of years now, but have been downtown. They want to relocate to City Park, which the city is excited about. We think that will create some excitement in City Park and some more notoriety there. But right now, they are not allowed to have alcohol in the park, and a barbecue festival, that's one of the things that they're centered around. This is also the Exchange Club has moved their cornhole tournament there instead of June Jam, again, because they like the idea of the park. There's better places to have everybody together instead of it being so spread apart here downtown. They can have their cornhole tournament in the shade and not in the scorching heat in June. And also we're hoping to be able to sort of expand on the actual festival, the Dock Holiday part, and grow this festival. So they are asking to be able to allow to have alcohol in the park for this event. We think that it would be best to say it's for city-sponsored events, not a particular event. So we are asking to provide a resolution that allows for that, not at all times, but just when there is a city-sponsored event in the park.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Now, if someone else comes and wants to do this, and they're asking for support for the city so that it will seem to be a city-sponsored event, how will we handle that?
We do define in our resolution what a city-sponsored event is. It is one in which we are providing some kind of resources, which may be infrastructure. So right now we're going to add some water and electricity needs that are at the park, or fire protection or police services or something along those lines that we would have. And it also generates income or development for the city. So we are a sponsor to this event. We do get money from the event. We have been, or Main Street has been for several years. years now. So we get a check from this event each time it is held that we get paid for it because we are a
Main
sponsor.
Street, the check goes to Main Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So if someone decides they want to have at any park that the city, just say Raymond Head Park, and if they have police protection, will they be allowed to do the same thing that we're allowing the Dock Holiday Festival to do?
If you want to pass a resolution that says that, but this resolution does not say that. This is specific to City Park because it is the city park.
Well, I don't have the confidence that politically that we will all agree on that. But I would agree to do this as long as we make this resolution that anytime someone is going to use, we have police protection or use the park, that it will cover everyone, not just this certain group, because they may have the political power to make it happen for their group. But if someone else comes before us and they don't have that same, I don't know that we will treat them the same way. So me personally, I would like to see us, if we're going to do it for one, say we do it for everyone.
Well, this is not specific to Dock Holiday. It's coming up because that's the event that is happening there. But this is for any city-sponsored event in the future at City Park.
Jessica, what we sponsor? Is this just because the events that were once held downtown is the exact same event? We want to do it just the same way, it's just a different venue?
Correct.
So therefore, anyone of any assembly could have come in the same location, but they weren't city-sponsored, so therefore they weren't allowed to serve alcohol, I'm assuming? Because, we ever had any other event downtown other than city-sponsored where we did allow the alcohol?
Well, that's a completely separate issue. We have a resolution that was passed a few years ago that does allow alcohol in certain city-owned properties, like City Hall or Historic City Hall or the Park at 6th or Solomon Park or Solomon Street, because we used to have, and we're going to again, have June Jam there. So we had a resolution passed, I think, in 2015 that allowed for that. That doesn't have anything to do with whether or not it's city-sponsored. That's specific to the location in which it is occurring. Of course, we also have our special entertainment district that allows go-cups or, drinking along the streets, but that's, again, just in regards to the special entertainment district and doesn't have anything to do with whether it's a city-sponsored event either. So there's a couple of different ordinances and resolutions that address it, just not anything in City Park.
So if we don't allow this, they will move their venue back here because that's the...
I don't know, but Ms. Jones is here with the chamber.
I hope that we will allow it. I'm all for it.
So when you say allowing alcohol, will someone be selling alcohol? Can they just bring in their own bottle? What exactly is it?
It just allows alcohol, so you can sell it. You would still have to meet the requirements of the alcohol ordinance to sell it. So you will still have to have your alcohol caterer's license and a permit for that if you're going to be selling it. But you also, just like you can at the Park at 6, bring it and drink it as well. But only if it is a city-sponsored event. So once this event is over, you cannot do that again until the next city-sponsored event. So it's not going to be specific to a date or time or an event, just whether or not it's city-sponsored.
No, I'm feeling right.
City-sponsored, and the city is going to generate income and/or development.
Right.
I would like to know what other events fall under that category.
Well, at one time, and I'm not sure, I was too young, but there was belief that Mayfling was just like this, and we didn't pass a resolution for that. We just sort of allowed it to occur at City Park, and it was a city-sponsored event.
I'm not sure that's true.
Okay. I don't know. That was what was mentioned. I'm not sure. Again.
Not legally,
There are, other events, if June Jam wanted to move to the park, that they could do that there because it is a city or a faction of the city, like Main Street, sponsored event. So there could be others. We had at one point, I'm trying to remember, Brian, a backpack, I think, event that we sponsored. So it just depends on what it is, but it will have to generate income and or development for us.
So let's go over it again.
When you say alcohol, is that beer, wine, or
Alcohol, beer, wine, liquor,
Okay.
So
distilled spirits, I should
when
say.
we say city sponsored, City sponsor, what is the definition of city sponsor?
A city-sponsored event is defined as one in which the city is providing resources, which include but are not limited to infrastructure, police, and fire protection, and generates income and/or development for the city.
So it's, you have a police officer there and generates. So when you say and generates, so if Fairmont High School, they have their class reunion, they've had it out there sometimes. A lot of people come to the city of Griffin to have their family reunions.
Correct.
And they may not know this rule, and they may have been breaking it all along.
Correct.
Could we if they get police protection, as long as they hire an off-duty police officer, whatever the requirements are, they are allowed to have, because see, if we do it for this one, which I don't have a problem with doing it, but I don't want to single out this one, for this event, and then the next person that comes down just happens not to be the Doc Holiday Festival, and it may not be this 7 people on the board, it could be anybody else, and they decide, no, we don't want to do it for that, but we're doing it for Doc Holiday because it's city sponsored. That's moved that. Nothing against Doc Holiday Festival. I'm just trying to protect anyone else that will want to do that.
If they're required to provide their own security, like pay off-duty police officers, we're not providing that security.
So then it wouldn't be city.
That would not fall under providing resources. If they're hiring an off-duty officer and they're paying them, we're not providing that as a resource. We only provide police officers on our dime for our city-sponsored events.
And what makes this city sponsored?
We're generating money.
We get a check from Main Street.
But there are other city-sponsored events that we don't get income from. So I understand exactly what you're saying and don't disagree with you. And I know whose back it's going to fall on to make those calls. So that's why y'all are making this decision, not me.
Okay, all right. Anybody else?
Because now I'm confused. The criteria for being city-sponsored is not that we receive income. That receiving income is only pertinent if they are asking to utilize this alcohol exception.
Correct. For this particular resolution. We sponsor June Jam. I mean, you could argue that that promotes development within the city, so that's why it's city-sponsored. I would think almost any other event that we sponsor does promote development, not necessarily generates income. But, I mean, it generates income and/or development. A lot of our events are development purposed.
Okay, so let me ask this. Where is the criteria for how we determine what we sponsor?
If our name's on it.
Which is subjective, because we could put our name on a lot of stuff.
We could.
But what parameters are we using to decide if we do?
Very vague ones.
I don't like vague.
I don't either. But a lot of times we're asked to be a sponsor so they get benefit from it, like free use of a facility or something, because if we're a sponsor, we don't charge ourselves to use a facility. So a lot of times people will come to me saying, will you co-sponsor this? And it sounds like a great idea. And then the reason we co-sponsor it so they don't have to pay for the use of a facility.
But it also benefits us, like having people come to the park at 6 for these downtown council concerts are co-sponsored by the city, but it brings all kinds of traffic and revenue and income to downtown. So that is a benefit to us.
So kind of in the vein of Commissioner McCord, I would be a lot more comfortable with this particular ordinance if there were some parameter for how we decided what was city-sponsored.
It would be helpful.
I agree. I just don't know how you're going to do that.
I don't either. But
And a lot of these have been around forever. I mean, June Jam has always been city, Main Street, that kind of thing. Second Saturday is new, but that's completely put on by our economic development departments. That's really a city event, not even city co-sponsored. So I don't know.
Fairmont comes down here and asks to get city sponsored.
What income or benefit is that going to be to us, I guess is the question. It's sort of how we look at it. What's the benefit to the city?
That 600 people are going to come to the city for the weekend, and they're going to be shopping and eating and just
Playing golf?
Yeah.
They're going to do all of the above.
But you can get golf.
And that's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
we're asking y'all.
I think my problem is, and I'll be done with it, I just believe in consistency. And when we started talking about using the city-owned facilities, and we just going to, we had this thing come up about they got a lake out at Green Valley. And it came up during the Development Authority, and some people described it as an amenity. And whenever you start using city facilities and you start saying we're only going to allow certain people to use it, and that to me, I have a problem with. So if we're going to say we're only going to let people who have city-sponsored events, there's no alcohol to be served at City Park except at the golf course. We're not going to allow people to bring alcohol unless it's a city-sponsored event. Then I tend to have a problem with it because what is city-sponsored? What if the city said we don't want to sponsor? And then you get into all this vagueness and great. And I mean, as an elected official, I'm willing to take a stance and say one way or the other. I'm not afraid to say whether or not we should have alcohol in the park or what is city sponsored or how we're going to determine that. It just needs to be clear. I'm all for Doc Holiday Festival, bringing people to our community. Hopefully they'll spend some money here. We have a good crowd, everybody be safe, and they'll enjoy themselves. So it is nothing against the Chamber of Commerce, whomever's putting it on. I don't have any problem with that. But I just want it to be when the next group of people, if Fairmont High School or any other Spalding High School decide they want to do something like that and they are not under this city-sponsored umbrella, that we will treat them the same way. And you can't do that depending on what you have up here.
Let me ask this. When is the Doc Holiday Festival?
September 7th.
It used to be September Smash, and then it evolved into Doc Holidays.
So
Well, they brought the barbecue thing, which is
I don't have a problem with this, but I'm like y'all, we should make some clear understandings about it.
Well, that was our problem. That's exactly why we brought it to y'all. There's not a good way to handle this. We can't just say you can do it and you can't and you can't and you can't. So the 7 of you are going to have to decide how we structure that.
When is the final date that this would need to be approved?
Today.
Today.
What sort of happened is there was an assumption that since you can drink at other city properties, you can drink at City Park. Since the golf course is, you can have alcohol there, it was assumed, incorrectly, obviously, that you can have alcohol at City Park. I was not brought into this until about 2 weeks ago. The infrastructure work was sort of done a little bit, and then when they heard we may not be able to do it there because you can't have alcohol, it all came to a screeching halt. But in order to get it done, they are waiting for us to call them tomorrow morning and say, do it or don't do it.
I'm comfortable with this if there is an agreement, or even if there is language that says, upon understanding that we define what city-sponsored is. So I don't know if we put that in the motion or...
And that means every time somebody asks, we're going to have to bring it back to you to determine what's city-sponsored and what's not.
I would like for us to set parameters. I mean, so that when someone comes to you, if we say that there's some financial benefit or economic benefit, that we have some parameters in place that says an influx of $10 into our local economy is not a benefit to us, but if there's going to be $10,000 or
No, you can't measure that, though.
well, there has to be some measurable parameter other than.
If someone is.
Well, this is the best that, after 2 weeks of batting around the same thing exactly that you're saying, this is the best we came up with, so y'all gonna have to help me here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm okay with the ordinance as it is, but what I'm saying is that going forward, I would like for us to be sure that we as the board come to a consensus about what is city sponsored, at least to provide some direction or parameters that take it from a completely subjective.
I don't have a problem bringing every request to you every time somebody wants us to sponsor something.
If someone comes down and says, we're having our family reunion and we're expecting to have 500 to 700 people out at City Park.
That's not city sponsored, though. I mean, Jessica, when she read what she read, does that not kind of have a blanket for what she just defined to us?
But what those people are going to say is we're bringing 500 people that are going to buy gas, stay in a hotel room.
And they're going to pay the city for the use of the park?
Eat at the restaurants, and they do pay for a pavilion at the park. So there's your income to the city and your development. So that meets the criteria.
So is that going to include golf tournaments?
They already can use it at golf tournaments. That was my point before I was interrupted. Whether it's city sponsored, whether it's under that umbrella of what Jessica is saying is city sponsored, if they meet that criteria of saying that, hey, we're bringing people in here, we're renting the pavilion, that's money that we're going to give to the city. So now we've covered that. Now, the only part that I guess we're missing is that about the police officer, because it would be an off-duty police officer. Now, if somebody's out there, I guess, working City Park, I mean, I don't know how all of that works. Would that allow them to have, I mean, all this is about, can they have alcohol in that at the park? Because if they were doing this downtown, it wouldn't matter whether it's city sponsored or not, because it's downtown. We have a district of entertainment district that allows that. So are we going to make City Park an entertainment district? We're going to make the pavilion an entertainment district? Is pretty much the question.
That I don't have an answer for.
I can support this if there is a consensus among us that we put effort into defining what city sponsored is. Not that you bring every request to us, but that there are some reasonable parameters that we agree on for what is city sponsored. Whether it's that it comes through one of the city factions, that it has to come through Main Street or some other organization, but that there is some definition to what we think should be city sponsored. Because I don't think we should sponsor a family reunion, but you could certainly argue the case.
And there could be a situation where an organization isn't a good steward of our generosity, and we may, I don't know if there needs to be a provision where we can reject an organization.
So that's what I'm saying.
If we had just say the Dock Holiday Festival's out there and it gets out of control, we have a big brawl, big fight and everything, it might not be something that we want to partner with in the future.
Well, also you have to consider sanitary facilities for Rodney, 600 people in his family.
We've got a new bathroom.
You know,
so I don't want us to not, for me, I don't want us to not pass this tonight because I think it's important. I just don't want us to allow this to come and then we find ourselves in 6 months or a year saying, well, it kind of does meet the parameters of it. So that's just where I am for you guys. I can support this tonight if we agree as a board, some general consensus that we'll look at defining what city sponsored is.
I'm very much in favor of the Dock Holiday Barbecue, but we're opening up a very slippery slope.
Yes, we are.
And you're putting the staff in a very difficult position with this whole thing, but I'm very much in favor.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No, we're not going to do it.
No, we're not putting it, no.
Unless I bring every request to you, then you know where it's going to stop.
Well, no, we're not putting it in. It was brought to us To my knowledge.
Well, it was brought to me, and I wasn't going to make that call, so I brought it to you.
Don't say I put you in it now.
If you put it back on me, then that's what you're doing.
Well, because the city had already started providing services and putting in utilities for them before they brought it to us. So that kind of like...
So once that infrastructure is in place, then the next group that wants to use that infrastructure, it's already there, so we don't have to pay for that again.
Jessica, what percentage or thereabouts of these city-sponsored events provide revenue to the city? You said not all.
Direct revenue or indirect?
Direct.
As far as getting a check from them, this is probably the only one that I'm familiar with that actually gives us a check based on the profit that is made at this event. But depending on who you ask, all of the rest of them bring sales tax, hotel motel tax, those kind of things in an indirect way. So you could argue if it was you that renting the pavilion is we'll get a check from you if you rent the pavilion. So you're providing income to the city.
And we provided infrastructure in the pavilion.
The infrastructure's in the pavilion. The infrastructure, we're going to have to spend about $5,000 to put infrastructure in the park for this event. Electric and water hookup.
I'll make a motion to...
We already have a motion.
We got a motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
And let's rock and roll.
We have a motion back. Who made the motion?
Doug made the motion.
Commissioner
Motion by Holberg, second by Murray to approve.
Second by Commissioner Murray to approve. All in favor, let me know by show of hand.
I can't do it.
It's okay.
I want to, but I can't do it.
Okay.
What was that count? 6-1?
5.
5.5. 5.5.
It went halfway.
Okay.
6.
We have
6-1?
Yeah.
6-1.
Ms. Flowers voting
Yes,
nay.
it's a no. Not because I don't want to see it. It's just not sitting well on me. I just...
This won't be the last time we hear this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, number 23. Appoint a board member to fill the vacancy of the Griffin Environmental Council due to the resignation of Tom Parton.
I'd like to nominate Jason Chance.
Close the nominations.
I second that motion to close the nomination.
All in favor, let me know by show of hands. It's 7-0.
Doug at the end by proclamation or acclamation.
What?
Okay. Number 20. Okay. Is that it? Okay.
24.
24, consider authorizing travel. That's why I forgot that. Travel and training for 2 sessions of GMA Fall Training Event for Commissioner Truman Tinsley on September 26 and 27, 2019 in Valdosta, Georgia.
I make a motion that we authorize the travel and training for Commissioner Tinsley.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. A motion by Commissioner McCord and a second by Commissioner Flowers to approve. All in favor, let me know by show of hands. 7-0. Let's take we had it long.
It's not a public hearing or anything.
I don't know. Something is happening. Denied.
I was going to say.
Yeah, are we good to proceed or?
Ms. O'Connor tells me that we have a citizen that wanted to address the board in relation to the particular item about the park. It's not a public hearing, and
We already voted.
citizen comments are over, so I don't think there's any area unless the chairperson just wants to allow it outside of the agenda, but I think that's already over.
Yeah, we already voted.
Okay.
I agree beyond that. They should have said something earlier, maybe on time.
We actually finished with the agenda. like to address the board?
We can, excuse us. We apologize. We didn't know quite how the procedure worked. I came a couple of weeks ago, and I was told just to come. There was some place at 9 this morning, so I apologize to the board, but we live at the terraces on the park.
Excuse me. Would you please give us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Barbara Randall. We are a few of the senior residents at that park, and I heard the gentleman here say, Mr. McCoy say, 500 people in a park. We're concerned with when do you shut that down? How is that going to look? Who's going to clean it up? And the noise. What level of noise is it going to present for the seniors there? And that was our concern. So we wanted to address you all, and I didn't know how to go about it, so I do apologize for that.
That's fine. What's your name, ma'am?
It's Barbara Randall.
And your address?
And your address?
854 Westbrook in the terraces at the park.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You, well,
Ballot concern.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, City Manager.
Well, since my comments come at the end, everybody leaves, I wanted to congratulate Marcus and the finance staff for 15 consecutive years for that award is pretty remarkable, and 13 years for the popular annual financial report, which is every year that we've ever had one. So I wanted to congratulate them on that work. I wanted to thank Walter for driving all the way here, but he skipped out too. But this solar thing is a very complicated issue that we're trying to get a handle on, and I really appreciate Walter coming all the way down from Electric Cities of Georgia to help us with that. We met with him earlier and went over that, and I appreciate him staying to update you on that. And Historic City Hall is almost concluded. The fire bay doors should be in next week, and we are planning on a business after hours and an open house and a ribbon cutting on August the 20th. Late afternoon, ribbon cutting, open house, and then straight into a business after hours. So if you'll be sure and mark August the 20th on your calendar, and it'll be late afternoon, and we'll give you a specific time as we get closer. It's a Friday.
Tuesday.
Business after hours is usually on Tuesday, I think.
20th is Tuesday.
20th. And that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Kitty, I hate to bring this up, but I think the public wants to know, where are we with our investigation on
We're still under investigation by the FBI, and that's all I know.
Do you have anything?
The computer issue is what I think Commissioner Tinsley was referring to. Not that we're under investigation by the FBI, but that incident is under investigation by the FBI, who have not given us much information either.
I'll just ask that y'all hold September 20th, which is a Friday, open. IMLA will be having their annual conference in Atlanta. And we're going to have a luncheon that day, and I'd like for y'all to be our guests.
Okay. It's a Friday.
We'll get back some more details with you.
Okay, so.
Let Kenny work out the logistics.
Okay, thank you.
Chick-fil-A.
Commissioner Holbrook, you have anything?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to give a shout out to Patrick Kay and his team. The events throughout the summer have been excellent. We still have multiple concerts scheduled every Saturday night from 8 to 10 that are free at the park at 6. And I think this Friday night we actually have a movie in the park that's going to be going on. So Patrick, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, as someone used to say all the time.
That's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have anything, Commissioner?
Patrick, I want to second that. I keep hearing comment after comment no matter where I go. Even someone asked me today, do you know this Patrick Kay gentleman? So, I mean, I know I don't want to just give you the congrats. It's your whole department in the city. I think the city's looking really wonderful. I've been enjoying the events myself, and I can feel all the hard work that you guys are doing. Tucson, I know that y'all all work together. Just please take this as just praise. And it's good to see scouts in the back. Thank you. You're always welcome. Please come back to our meetings. They're very entertaining, as you can see. So it's good to see you in the back. Thanks for coming. Thanks.
Very briefly, I attended the Beagle Poverty Institute today at the UGA Griffin campus. It was 2 days of training, basically trying to help us and the other maybe 100 people in the room have better ideas of about how to become a poverty-informed community, about how we can better serve our constituents, and that's something that we've discussed a lot, something that we discussed at Archway, so I won't go on ad nauseum about what we learned, but I will share that information with you guys later, but we've already been here, so that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Brown?
No comment, ma'am.
Commissioner Tansman?
Just wanted to extend my appreciation to Ronald Graham and Chris Stanley for their selfless and heroic actions, and also to Robert Clark, strong slate. That's it.
Cool.
Just want to congratulate Jason Chance going on the Griffin Environmental Council.
I myself, along with Cora, did attend the conference, the seminar for poverty, and it gave me myself a chance to look at poverty from a different aspect than what I've always looked at it. It was very informative, enlightening, to say the least. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, let me know by show of hands.
Who's second?
Oh, who seconded? Who first?
Holberg and
Did you second it?
No, hold on.
Okay.
I made the motion.